basketball is back in everyone's minds here in the greater West Bloomfield area and across Metro Detroit. Detroit basketball is back after one of the worst seasons in professional basketball history. The Detroit Pistons had a resurgence in 2025, winning 30 more games than they did in the year before, qualifying for the playoffs, and even most recently picking up their first playoff win since all the way back in 2008. Much like the resurgence of the Tigers and even before that, especially the Detroit Lions, fans right here close to home are feeling the excitement themselves. That includes one of West Bloomfield's biggest Pistons fans, James Johnson, who joins us now on the Splash Live. James, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you. Appreciate the interview.
Yeah, happy to have you on. Happy to be talking about Pistons basketball. They've had a fantastic season, really having a major bounce back. That's one of the best in NBA history, going from 14 wins last season to 44 wins in a playoff appearance this year. For a basketball fan like you, what's the feeling like to finally have Pistons basketball seeming like it's back on the right track?
Yeah, it takes me back to the old days of the bad boys, and we have so much history with us being able to get those championships in Detroit. I had opportunity to go down and check out a couple games, and the feeling in the stadium is awesome. It's the environment is electric, and it's really been good to bring that pride back to Detroit.
And the Pistons picking up their first playoff win since 2008 when they won a conference finals game against the Boston Celtics. Now they pick up a win in Game 2 of the first round against the New York Knicks. And since then, quite a lot of controversy as the Pistons came back to Detroit. They ended up losing in Game 3 in a close game with some controversy at the end of that game with a potential backcourt violation on Jalen Brunson. And then the biggest controversy of the entire NBA playoffs happened just recently in Game 4. We'll take a look at that in just a moment. The Pistons in a one-point game, Tim Hardaway with a potential game-winning three, some contact from Josh Hart led to him missing. It wasn't called a foul. A lot of question around this, including the NBA's officiating crews that do a report of their final 2 minutes of officiating, saying they made a mistake. They should have called a foul. Tim Hardaway Jr. should have had 3 shots at the line, which theoretically could have won the Detroit Pistons that game. What was your reaction in that moment and afterwards to that final part of that game and ultimately a non-call that might end up costing the Pistons their season?
One of the things that I thought about with how much scrutiny now is on the refereeing and how many replays they have, it reminds me of football now. It slows the game down, but I understand it's a reason why it needs to be slowed down so that calls like this wouldn't go against the Pistons, because that would have been as easy as a simple review and that could have been overturned. So I don't understand why that wasn't overturned, because with all of the new technology we have and how things go, I think that it would have been easy to see that and to change that call. And that's been done many times in the past. A couple games that I watched, they actually reversed some calls due to that. So I don't know why they didn't reverse that call.
Yeah, and it has a big impact to the Pistons. If they would have won that game, would have tied the series at 2 wins apiece. The first team to win 4 games in that best-of-7 series moves on to the second round, where they may be on a collision course with the defending champion Boston Celtics. Now the Pistons, after that 94-93 loss, they're down 3-1. They go back to New York on Tuesday for Game 5, which could be the end of that series, especially with the history showing statistically over 70% of the time the team that goes up 3-1 ends up winning that series. But we want to keep it positive as we think about Pistons basketball going forward, because whether this series goes back in the Pistons' favor or not, they've made an unbelievable turnaround. And like we've seen with the Lions over the past several years, and now the Tigers with their own resurgence, we're seeing people start to rekindle that love they had in years past for Pistons basketball. How are you seeing that here close to home in West Bloomfield and, of course, throughout the Metro Detroit area in recent weeks and months?
So what I see is, even with the resurgence of the Lions, it reminds me of the same formula where you get good leadership in, you get players that buy into the coaches, you get a good chemistry of players that are just ready to get out there and work and not necessarily always be the one that gets the glory for whatever's going on. Everybody does the work. And that chemistry to me is what has led to this resurgence. And it all starts with leadership. So it's great to see.
And how do you think that this run for the Pistons, especially seeing them have those 2 home games against the Knicks in Game 3 and Game 4, may help Detroit basketball get back on the map and really Detroit gain that respect it had for so many years as one of the best basketball cities in the country?
Yeah, and I think that what we've done this far is not kind of a one-time thing. I believe that people have bought back into it, along with, like I said, the players, the fans. If you go down to these games, the stadiums are filling up, so they're invested, and I think that's just a good thing for the city. It's a good thing for everyone involved because it just brings not just revenue, but you bring that good feeling back to the city, and that's what's really important right now.
James Johnson is with us, arguably the biggest Pistons fan in the greater West Bloomfield area. The Pistons with a resurgent season. The number 6 seed in the Eastern Conference are currently down 3-1 against the New York Knicks as we have this conversation. But being back in the playoff hunt, having some hope for the future. Great young roster. Cade Cunningham, despite the loss in Game 4, a triple-double, an impact player. If the Pistons pulled out that win, even without it, really, you could say that's a legacy game for the young Piston guard. So as this team has made this push forward, they got a young roster. There's some excitement there. There's a lot of rumors surrounding them, too. Could they be a player this offseason and go out and pick up a star through a trade? Do you think that this is a time for the Pistons to look to make a big splash and maybe next year, the year or a couple of years out, possibly be contending for a championship on a faster track?
Yeah, I think if upper management and everyone stays with what they've been doing so far, I'm sure that you'll have some players, some big name players that'll want to come to Detroit. I mean, you look at the Lions and you had players that are on that team that didn't necessarily want to be in Detroit, and now they want to be in Detroit. So I think this has led to not only us seeing the growth and the development of our team, but I believe that it would be a good opportunity to try to grab somebody that's a big name that fits and that goes along with the chemistry of just doing the work. I love that slogan. If we can find a player that will fit into the chemistry of what we have and that wants to be here and that wants to develop, I think this would be the best time because we've gotten to a place where we haven't been in a while, and I think the energy is high, and I think that we could get a good player.
They play hard, they represent the city well, and those building blocks are definitely there. James Johnson is with us, West Bloomfield resident, and a big Detroit Pistons fan as the Pistons continue their resurgence and their playoff push in 2025. James, if people in West Bloomfield and the greater West Bloomfield area haven't gotten back on the bandwagon yet with the Pistons, why should they be tuning in now and rooting for their hometown basketball team?
Well, like I said, the team feeds off of that energy. And the city just feeds off of that energy. And I look at the Lions, I always use that as an example. It may take a season or two, I think, but if the fans buy in and they go down to these games and they experience it, because once you experience a game in person and you feel that energy, you'll want to be a part of it. So I believe that everybody should begin to rally behind this team, and that'll give us an opportunity to even make a bigger impact as we begin to win more games. And like you said, maybe we get a bigger star to come to Detroit, and we'll be on our way to possibly another championship.
Plenty more to be celebrating in the future for Pistons fans and basketball fans alike here in greater West Bloomfield and beyond. James, thank you so much for your time today.
I appreciate you. Thanks a lot.